Well, that's the National Association of Women Entrepreneurs, marked International Women's Day by calling on the government to provide equal opportunities free from stigma and violence. The president of the association, Barrister Vera Ndanusa, says it's important to have women in decision-making positions.
In the social, economic, and political spheres. End to social stereotypes associated with the female gender, more government interventions directed at the girl child, strong partnership within the government and the civil societies to end gender-based violence against women and girls, domestication of VAP acts to reduce cases of gender-based violence against women and girls, 30% affirmative action for all elective positions at all levels of government in the country.
So let's get more on this with Comfort Lamptey, Nigeria's country director for the United Nations Women, and Nkechi Onuha, the principal of the Australian Academy here in Abuja. So I'll start with you. You're right here with us in the studio. And the first question that I would want to ask is, I read somewhere that every year a girl child is allowed to stay in school, there is 14% increased potential for her to do well in life. How true is this, and why is it so difficult for us to keep girl child in schools?
This is absolutely true. I mean, we're seeing it. There is now an increase in calls. Not only, I mean, in Beijing, 25 years ago, the calls were to actually educate the girl child. And we saw how universal primary education became one of the priorities of many governments afterwards. But now we're seeing stronger calls for universal secondary education for girls, because we know from evidence that the longer girls stay in school, the better the life choices that they make, the more protected that they are from all manner of issues, whether it's teenage pregnancy, early marriage, and so on. But also in terms of making choices about how many children they're going to have, and so on. But also, their being in school also adds to the economy growth of their countries. And so yes, keeping girls in schools both benefits them in terms of their development, but it also ultimately benefits the country.
Absolutely. Like they say, educate a woman, you help the nation. But we're at a time when the girl child education is under a lot of assault, especially in the Northeast. How do you tell these people who assault these females that this is just not the way to go? Because every year it's like we come here, we discuss these things, and it's like back to business as usual. How much impact really, my question is, how much impact has the marking of International Women's Day, 110 years now, how much impact has it really had on the female gender?
So let me start with the first part of your question. I mean, I do think that indeed there is an assault on girls' education. We know already that before COVID-19, over 10 million children were out of school, majority of them being girls. And issues of kidnapping of girls and so on increases the risk of them not going back to school. We've seen that. But even COVID-19 itself, because of the long stay. But having said that, I mean, since 25 years ago, when the girl child issue came on the agenda, the development agenda, if you compare to now, last year when we worked with the government to look at 25 years of progress, we saw that there are more girls now in school globally than before. So there is progress in that sense. And sometimes we don't see progress as fast as we want. We are making very incremental progress, and in some areas we're not, clearly. And women in leadership and in public life is one area where we do need to make progress.
Okay, just before we move on to the area of how women are doing in the business place today, in the marketplace today, in terms of numbers, do you have an idea of what kind of numbers we can talk about when you refer to
girl child and the boy child, in terms of their numbers, what's the ratio to the other? The impression is there are more boys in school than there are girls, because some parents, especially the unenlightened ones, don't allow their girls go to school.
Well, if you look at those who are out of school, certainly 60% of them are girls. What happens is that at the primary level, obviously the ratio is sort of pretty much equal. The higher up you go on the educational ladder, the fewer girls, because girls are dropping out, they're being married off early, and so on. So that's where we need to actually put more investment going forward. If we had at least all girls completing secondary education, that will have a transformative effect as well on the development.
So how can society step in, especially at the governmental level, whether at the subnational level or the federal government? What kind of measures or policies do they need to put in place to ensure that, you know, this changes?
Well, just as we did with universal primary education, and you know, this is the advocacy, you know, how do we get free education for girls? Because I think a lot of times when the reason why parents also take their girl children out early. Of course, we know about the social norms and traditions which say, you know, you're going to get married anyway, so if we had to choose between you and the boy child, we will let the boy child continue and you go out. But I think where parents are supported and where it's a government policy, and we see it in some of the countries that have adopted that policy, you're already seeing the effects. When you actually offer free education, if that's a government policy, it does make an impact.
Let me raise a point that Abike Dabiri, a very senior colleague in the profession, actually, you know, because she said something about, look, we can't just keep talking. At the end of the day, women need to step out. But then again, there's that challenge. They have that fear. You know, if I step out, where am I going to get the support from? At the end of the day, will I not fall, you know, midway?
Well,
how can women get to that position of leadership and actually achieve, you know, their highest goal?
The first point is that women are stepping out. I think we saw in the 2019 elections that more women run than ever before. The bigger question is, how do we create an environment, a conducive environment for women to be able to compete, for women not to be intimidated, for women to be able to have a fair chance of winning. And so those are some of the questions we need to address. But in terms of having women who are ready to step out into politics, I don't think we're short of that in the country.
So I can actually step out,
very
right?
quickly then, because of the limited time left, very quickly, what is United Nations Women doing to ensure that women are able to support women? Because some people do say women's worst enemy are women.
See, we don't subscribe to that, and that's also not been our experience. I think if you look, and I just give you the example of Liberia, which was the first country in Africa to elect a woman president. And actually it was the women who supported that presidential candidate to win. I think that the women do support women. Of course, women. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean I have to support you, but if you have the right policies, and the chances are that, you know, if you share my lived experiences and are able to articulate that, I will support you. So I think that we do exaggerate that point about women not supporting women, but what we do is certainly we support women with capacity build, the women who want to run, with training, with capacity building, to be able to, if you like, put their agenda on the table for everyone. And I think women are discerning, and they know who to support at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. We wish we could go on and on because there's so many things we'd love. Well, it's great to have you on Newsnight.
Comfort Lamptey, UN Women Country representative.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.